So I was just downstairs and I was hit with an idea. I immediately grabbed a piece of scrap cardboard and started to jot down a few thoughts for a video that I wanted to record. And in this video, what I'm going to do is to highlight some books that I would absolutely not buy right now. And I know what's going to happen. People are going to come up with all kinds of scenarios and what if types of situations. What I will tell you is that the guidance that I'm going to provide in this video is generic guidance. It is food for thought. It is not necessarily saying absolutely do these things in all situations. So there's going to be some things that might be helpful. There might be some things that I say that you need to just ignore and or modify. With that said, let's get to my thoughts. Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. If you are new to the channel and haven't yet subscribed, I want to invite you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you like what I talk about. And either way, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. One of the very first types of books that I would absolutely not buy is anything that is not already an established key. Over the last few years, there has been a trend and a tendency for us as a community to call every book a key comic. I honestly have always disagreed with that. I've created videos in which I basically ask the question, what really is a key comic? And so I think in the current environment that we are in, I don't think that we can afford to call everything a key. A book that was just printed this week or a month ago, in my mind, is not a key comic and certainly should not be a book that we are spending big dollars on. And each of us has to decide what expensive and big dollars actually means to us. But right now, in my mind, it's about the sure thing. It is about the established key comics. It's about the established characters that have a fan base. It is about those characters, those books that I have a personal interest in. It is not necessarily about buying everything and spending big money on everything because someone else says that this is a key comic. The second type of book that I would avoid is any book that is tied to MCU or DCU speculation. That is not to say established keys. That is to say any book that is a high dollar book that is somehow connected to either the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the DC Universe. And I say this because, again, in this current environment, there are no sure bets. There are no safe bets. DC is still trying to figure itself out, and so spending big money on a speculative book tied to the DC Universe might not be a good thing, especially because of all the tumult that is going on right now. When you look at what's happening with Marvel, this connection between value spiking of comics and movies either coming out or being teased, I think that connection has been disconnected. And we've seen that play out with things like the Submariner and also with Black Panther related keys. Those books are not necessarily skyrocketing in value the way that we had seen over the last couple of years. So expensive speculation tied to movies and or TV shows, I'm going to stay away from that. The third type of book that I plan to avoid is any book that does not meet my collection's standards. And what I mean by that is that a few years ago, I gave a lot of thought to how I wanted my collection to look. And I came up with a set of criteria to hold myself accountable to. I personally do not like books that are missing pages or are incomplete or have a lot of rust or a lot of tears and pieces missing from them. I try to avoid those types of books. But over the last few years, with values being where they were, I've had to make some concessions. I've had to give up a couple of those things in order to add really awesome books to the personal collection. But with where we are right now, with values coming down with a lot of books, I feel like I can now hold myself to that standard that I set for the collection a few years ago. And so to that point, missing pages, incomplete books, lots of rust, major tears, that kind of stuff, I'm going back to that and I'm avoiding adding any of those books to the collection because so many books are now affordable where I don't have to necessarily do that. If you don't have a standard for your collection, you might want to give a little thought to that. And to be honest with you, this isn't really a fourth thing, but I personally am not a huge fan of facsimiles. And I know a lot of people might be upset by that, but if you really think about it, a lot of people, depending upon the books, were picking up facsimile copies because the values of the books that they really wanted were sky high. Again, that is not necessarily the case right now. So spending $100, $200, maybe even $300 for a facsimile graded copy of a comic isn't necessarily what we might want to do, given that some of the books that we really want have come down in value to be $400 or $500. You're not that far off from getting the real thing. So again, my goal with this video is not to offend anyone in any way, shape, or form, but it's to point out a couple of things that I've been thinking about in my own mind, because it's super easy to say, spend money here. It's another story to say, you might not want to necessarily buy these things. And so my hope is that this video is helpful to someone out there. With that said, I am going to wrap this video up. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you subscribe, and I also hope that you give the video a thumbs up. And certainly, if you have any thoughts, be certain to leave those thoughts behind in the comment section because I read them all. And if you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care. If you're interested in taking your comic book knowledge to the next level, I want to encourage you to check out our new guide, The Guide to Smart Comic Collecting, co-written by Doug Bratton. This guide will help you to elevate your game, and you can find it on RegieCollects.com.